You look thrilled, kid.
Okay, there it was. That mute's going through. I'm confused by the thing. Anyway, we're recording.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome back to the podcast that must not be named. I am going to be Luke this time.
I think I'll stick with being Melissa for now.
It's a reasonable choice. And we are here on our 5-chap recap, going through Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Book 4, chapters 31 through 35. A lot of fun stuff happened in this chapter. Melissa, give us a quick recap of what just happened.
So we finally get to the last task of the Tri-Wizard Tournament, which is really a Quad-Wizard Tournament, but I digress. And Harry gets into the maze where he finds very little kind of in his way, which is kind of shocking to him. Eventually we find out that Crumb was trying to attack Cedric and Fleur got hurt, and at the end, Cedric and Harry made it to the end and decided to do a nice bonding Hogwarts tie, except the Tri-Wizard Cup was a portkey which took them to Tom Riddle Sr.'s gravesite where Voldemort, spoiler, was waiting for them so that they could kill the spare, and Cedric died. And then they used Harry as part of a potion along with the bones of Tom Riddle Sr. and Wormtail's hand to bring Voldemort back to a full, able-bodied person. Woohoo. At which point, Voldemort used his direct call to all of his Death Eaters, who most of which apparated directly to him. He monologued for a while, telling us about how he made it back, and then dueled with Harry, where, unbeknownst to either of them, their wands don't get along. So they decided to join cores together and have some big weird golden thing where eventually Harry won by making all of the ghosts of Voldemort's prior spells come out, including Harry's parents. That was a shocker. They told Harry to go ahead and make a break for it, and they would block Voldemort. Harry runs for Cedric's body, grabs him, grabs the portkey, and makes it back to Hogwarts, where the crowd goes wild for his win and then loses it for Cedric's death. Harry is carried off by Mad-Eye Moody to get him out of the fray, where it turns out Mad-Eye Moody was more mad than we thought, and he ended up being the bad guy Plant, Voldemort's secret spy on the inside. And then it turns out even worse. Mad-Eye is not Mad-Eye. He's actually Barty Crouch Jr., the son of our big ministry official who's been off on his own and missing for a while. He killed his father. He's the one who's been the spy on the inside working for Voldemort, and he was the one who even got Harry into the tournament and helped him win it at the end.
And we are going to welcome back one of my favorite people on this show, Lorelai, our target audience perspective. Welcome back, friend.
Hello.
Hey, I heard you were sick today. You feeling okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so this was I'd say one of the most exciting sections for just straight up action for a whole 5-chapter sequence. What stands out to you? What are your big overall arching thoughts? What do you got?
I only had two things to say. One was like when they were like getting ready for the third tournament and they were like, oh, your parents are here to say hi, and Harry was like, who's here for me? Like, the Dursleys wouldn't be here for me. I was like, what would happen if the Dursleys did show up?
That's a good question. Yeah,
I feel like they'd just go crazy.
Like if they because we know that apparently Harry was obligated to participate in the tournament, right? Like it was a binding magical contract, which whatever that means. Like what if it was a binding magical contract for the families to also have to show up?
They just appear there.
Yeah, what is like he just shows up from Grunning's drills, and yeah, that would be disorienting for sure. Do you think they would be able to stay and would they survive?
No, first of all, they wouldn't survive. Second of all, they try to leave.
Yeah.
And third of all, they wouldn't make it out alive.
Do you think they would have even been allowed into Hogwarts?
Well, yeah, I would think so.
Maybe
I mean,
they just showed up on a plot of land and like Hogwarts was there, but they can't see it because they're muggles, and Hermione said that muggles can't see it.
right. It's actually a really interesting. Like, what if a Muggle-born like Hermione was chosen champion, and her parents are invited? Like, yeah, where does that line get drawn? Do they get like a special permission for the weekend kind of thing, or I don't know? It's
Or what about, like, is there a graduation ceremony at the end of 7th year? Do parents come? Do Muggle parents come? Are they? Yeah, like, there's questions.
That's a good question. That is a good question. So, what was your other big overarching thought in this section, Lorelai?
I hated that. It wasn't really a question. It was just like a thought. I hated that. Harry was like, "You can have the cup," but of course, Cedric had to be the nice Hufflepuff that he is and be like, "No, you can have it." Like, I'm nice and I'm Hufflepuff. No, Hufflepuff hasn't had a win in years, in centuries. So I would take the darn cup. Like, I don't care about you. Screw you. You win every year you've been here. We get that cup, and I'm gonna have a glorious time.
What did you think of Harry arguing with him, trying to tell him to do just that? I mean, like, it's not. I mean, it sounds like you'd agree with Harry, but like, were you surprised at Harry like telling him to do that?
No, because Harry's that Gryffindor courage, like noble person, stupid stuff that is like, I'll let him have it because I'm nice like that. And, it's okay because I'm famous anyway, and I don't really need that.
I'm Harry freaking Potter.
Right. Yeah, and I think Harry thinks that Cedric did beat him. I mean, if it's going to come down to it, Cedric's there. He said, I'm not going to beat him in a foot race. Like, go and take it. Like, you win. Like, it's yours. Until Cedric really, like, puts his foot down and forces Harry to be like, well, let's tie, I guess. Like, that's the only thing that's going to be okay. So, I don't know.
What do you think would have happened if Cedric had taken it by himself?
I feel like Voldemort would just be very confused and be like, excuse me, is Harry Potter coming at anything?
This is not what I ordered.
Yeah, like, can I send this back, please?
Is this a money back guarantee?
I think Amazon got my order wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, do I get my money back? This is not the right, no.
So, talking about the third task specifically, were there any of the challenges in the maze that really stood out to you as being cool or unexpected, or wow, I don't know if I'd be able to get through that? Like, what stood out to you as being interesting?
The riddle one. I am terrible. I am the worst at riddles ever. I would not guess that. I would just walk away and just been like, well, gotta find another path because I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that was a viable option. I mean, the Sphinx gave him that option, so it would have been completely reasonable to do so.
And like, she was like, if you guess and you get it wrong, I'll attack you. And I'm just like, that's not very nice. I mean, you gotta do that.
In her defense, nothing else announced they were going to attack ahead of time.
Yeah.
They just showed up and attacked.
Yeah. I'd have kind of just attacked at the beginning. I would just been like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, now it's mine. Instead of taking all that precious time.
So, yeah, then we have the fight with the spider, Harry and Cedric kind of working together. And they work together a little bit earlier. With Victor Crumb. Anything else in the maze really jump out at you?
No. It's all stuff like the spider, normal. That was from book 2. Like, that was fine. And then the Dementor, which actually wasn't a Dementor. It was it was like
The boggart.
ridiculous thing, bugart.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of normal from book 3, so it was all pretty normal, easy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like what got me was like they said, oh, this is going to be like 5th year, 6th year, like hardcore stuff. No, I learned this last year. Like this is pretty easy. And then it's not like I learned it on my own, like Hermione would have. Like my whole class learned it. Like this isn't difficult.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. The biggest surprise, I think, is definitely the cup being a portkey, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Harry and Cedric grab the cup at the same time. They vanish off to the graveyard and are immediately greeted by Wormtail holding a bundle of robes. And what's the first thing that he does?
He's like, where am I? And then he gets snatched up by the grave then.
But even before that, what happens to his buddy?
Oh yeah, he goes bye-bye.
Yeah, kill the spare, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been probably the biggest Cedric supporter on our show. Very, I mean, it's a great character to get behind for sure. How did that make you feel when you read that? Like either this time or the first time, or is it the same every time? How does that make you feel?
The first time I was like really shocked, but now I'm kind of just like, yeah, I saw that coming, kind of, because like he's not really that big of a character, and they kind of just cut off like not big characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like you care just enough about him
Mm-hmm.
to care that he died, but not enough to be like, oh my god, I can't believe you killed the main character or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right after that, Wormtail starts doing this kind of old magic type potion thing where he takes 3 ingredients and forms this new body for Voldemort. What did you think of that ritual scene?
I like how Wormtail just plopped the body into the cauldron. He just said, boop. Like, there you go. Okay, so now we gotta get some ingredients. I gotta get the boom boom. Okay, the boom. Alright, I need your blood really quick. Excuse me. And then I gotta go. Uh-oh. A boop. Oh no.
Cut my hand off. Whoops.
No. It's okay though. I'm okay now. Oh, hey, look, there's my master. No, thank you for bringing me back to life. No, nothing. Oh, okay. That's fine. I'll just hide in the shadow again. Even though I literally brought you back to life, it's okay. It's fine.
You know, it's okay. Don't worry about me. I'll be okay.
It's not like any of your other people have brought you back to life or literally saved you from death and ruining their lives for years and years, helping you. But it's fine. I'm okay. I'm all right.
So then we meet some of his followers that didn't do, like you were just saying, that didn't find him, didn't find Voldemort and sacrifice like Wormtail has in the past couple of years, and I guess the last year at this point. And what did you think of the return of this number of Death Eaters? Did you think that was a pretty good homecoming? Was it a lower number than you had thought? Just overall, what do you think of that?
In my mind, I pictured them in a circle, obviously, surrounding him. And then I just thought it was really kind of, I don't want to say dumb, just like silly of Voldemort to be like, Lucius, you are here. Oh, Harry, by the way, this is Lucius. You should meet him. He is my Death Eater. Don't take him away from me now. No, that won't be good for me. And then there's this guy right here. Oh, they're not there. That's a no-no. That's a bad. That's a no-no.
Like he should have been giving Harry all the names.
Yeah, just like, okay, here's a list of all my Dementors. Don't take them away from me now. I kind of need them, but it's okay. I'll give you the list. It's all right. Like, why? Just why? Like, that's really stupid, honestly.
Yeah, and I know one thing that Melissa and I had talked about was at one point they talk about when Karkaroff, if you remember back in the Pensieve chapter, and he's giving like names to the council or whatever to rat them out to get himself out of jail. He specifically says like, none of us knew who everyone was, which was a protection for Voldemort, right? If if the followers don't know who the other ones are, they can't do exactly what Karkaroff did. But right here, like Voldemort specifically goes and names every single person that's there. So it's like, wait, is that a thing? Was Karkaroff just lying, or like I don't know? I just thought that was silly.
Yeah, just like they had no idea this guy was working for me. But here's literal proof that he's working for me now. But don't go lock him up now. No. You can't do that. That's not nice. I need him to murder people for me. I need this person. Oh no, you locked him up? Well, why'd you do that? You had no idea he was mine. Wait,
I ratted everyone out to everyone else. That kind of backfired on me.
That's my bad, man. That's my bad. No hard
Do
feelings.
some memory charms on everyone right after this, wipe the names. So right after everyone shows up, Voldemort monologues a little bit more. He talks about where he's been. Why haven't you guys come back? You guys all owe me a bunch of redemption, time served before I'll forever forgive you.
13 years worth.
Yeah. And he then follows up with doing, I don't know, maybe the honorable thing of trying to duel with Harry instead of just outright killing him. What did you think of their little fight there?
It's like, I have been waiting for this moment your entire life. I have died because of you, but it is okay. Now I can touch you. And I feel like it'd be the proper thing to duel you. I know you will probably win because this is your book and you have more books to go. But it's alright.
You muted yourself, Lorelei.
I know what you said now.
You were saying...
I forgot what I was saying.
You were saying how Voldemort had waited Harry's entire life, and now that they're here, let's duel about it.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about it. Let's sit down and have a chat. Let's have a cup of tea and some biscuits now. I want to talk about our situation here and how it's not really good, and I think we need to grow a little bit in our relationship here, because it seems like you don't like me, and I don't know why. I've done nothing wrong to you. I feel like we need to talk about this.
He also goes through and uses the Cruciatus curse on Harry, right? So that's the first time Harry's ever felt that. He tries to use the Imperius curse on him, and Harry resists.
Mm-hmm.
And then they duel, and he tries to use the Avada Kedavra curse on him. So literally, like in a span of probably 3 real life minutes, Harry has all 3 unforgivable curses thrown at him.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know.
Yeah. It was just something that kind of occurred to me. I was like, that's. I wonder if that's ever happened before. I'm sure it has, but
it's like, oh, that's nice. Thank you for that.
And their wands connect. Harry decides to stand up, walk back out, and face him like his father did. Face him face to face, and he counter attacks. And their wands connect, and it does this huge magical orb thing. They float up in the air. There's Phoenix song going on. Then the strand that connects their wands turns into these beads that Harry just instinctually thinks, hey, I need to will that over to his side. I don't want it to touch my wand. And then we have this kind of magical shadow echo ghost being thing happening with these 5 characters that Voldemort killed last. So in all of that, what stands out to you? Was that something that you would have anticipated, or is that whoa, what the heck? Seriously, this is happening?
Yeah, I feel like that was way too overdramatic.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. It was really way too overdramatic. So I feel like that has happened multiple times. Well, it wouldn't actually have happened multiple times before, because those 2 are the only wands that come from the same feather and all that jazz, because Harry's just that special and they just have that great of a connection. And I feel like it was overdramatic. I feel like J.K. Rowling put way too much on that and should have just been oh, they duel like normal human beings. like, yeah, a little bit of this, a little bit of that came up. Oh, yeah, like, the ghost people came up, because that's pretty cool there. And, you know, because that's how he gets out. And, like, yeah, we kind of need him to get out there. So, that was cool. But I don't really think, like, they needed to rise up in the air and a song starts playing. Like, I feel like Voldemort just... Voldemort had one of his, like, Dementors just put on a song while they were dueling. Just like, ooh, I like this one.
One of the Death Eaters just shows up with a boombox on his shoulder.
Yeah.
What song would you play if you were in that? If you were that Death Eater with that job, what song would you play?
That's hard. That's hard. I have no idea. I'll have to get back to you on that.
So, but you think the beads and like the ghost thing, that was cool. That was, you're good with that narratively, but maybe like the golden sphere and the floating over in the music, you think that was maybe a little too much?
Yeah, I think it was way too much. I think they needed to chill out there.
Dial it back a few.
Yeah, like, this isn't a duel to the death here, man. Like, it's not like it's a duel to the death.
It's supposed to be.
You need to calm down, okay?
It's supposed to be a duel to the death.
It's supposed to be, but it's not, because we obviously know exactly what's going to happen. Harry's going to be set free because he has more books to go.
Okay. So then the reverse shadow echoes, Harry's parents show up, right? Did you find that to be touching? Was that just kind of like, oh, that just makes sense and that's what's going to happen? Or did that really connect with you?
See, I feel like for most people, it'd just be like, oh, it's his parents. But see, I don't have a soul or a heart, so I didn't really care. I was just like, oh, cool, your parents that you'd never literally ever have seen in like 14 years. That's cool. Just say hey. They'll tell you where to go. And you'll be alrighty. You'll miss them for a little bit, and then life will be the same.
And they do their job, I guess, for you, and they help him get out. And Cedric asks Harry to bring his body back to his parents. And he does. He kind of risks his own neck a little bit by going past the cup, right? Because he could have just taken the cup and gone and been out even quicker. But he decides to jump over the cup, get to Cedric's body, and then, you know, summoning charm the cup to him. Yeah. Any feelings on that choice that Harry made?
Yeah, for being a Hufflepuff and being like, oh, I put people first and I'm so kind, I wouldn't really care about bringing my body back. I feel like, yeah, my body's there, but like I kind of want him to live, so I'll let my body like rot there. It'll be all right.
Well, there's a couple different angles at that, I guess. It's really nice for Cedric's parents. He could be thinking, you know, it's going to be easier for them to have that confirmation and not live with, well, how do we really know he's dead? Just by the word of Harry? Like, there's enough going on. And two, it also makes it a little bit easier on Harry when he gets back. He doesn't have to really explain. It tells the tale of, yeah, he's dead. So maybe it's good for his parents and it's good for Harry. So maybe that's kind of what Cedric was getting at. It's better for them in the long run, even though, I don't know, does that make any sense? Or
yeah, that makes sense. I was just thinking of like a, hey, Harry needs to live type of thing.
Sure.
I'm just saying, as a parent, come back. Even the body, please. That's just my take.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Like, if you're thinking of only of Harry, but Cedric is not just thinking of Harry, Cedric's thinking of, like, you know, people outside of that too.
Yeah. And he gets back. He's Harry's successful. He gets the body back. They take the cup back. There's some excitement because, the two champions have returned, and then there's some tragedy.
Holy cow, he's dead.
Yeah. If you were in the crowd, how do you think you would feel, like, with all that going on?
I'd be like, why is one of them lying on the ground? And
right?
then I'd just Harry, like, cuddling him, and I'd just be like, ew, that's not good. And I would also hope that I get to be, like, one of the first people there, because then I just get to know everything.
Yeah.
And I'd make sure that, like, they're all right and stay off.
Were you surprised when Moody takes Harry away and then starts talking to him about what happened? Could you tell what was happening, or was it until Moody specifically says that he was the Death Eater at Hogwarts that it all started kind of making sense? What do you think?
I was kind of questioning it because he was just like, "What happened? Like, did this happen? Did that happen?" And Harry was like, "Yeah, that actually did happen. How'd you know that?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "How did he know that? Like, that's kind of weird." And then I was like, "Wait, Voldemort was talking about this kind of stuff," and I'm just like, "Are you sure he's like really the one and only Mad Eye Moody? Because I'm not quite sure about that." And then he was just like, I'm the bad guy." Duh.
When you found out who the bad guy was, that it was Barty Crouch Jr., what did you think of that? I mean, we knew him to be dead, right? Was that a pretty big surprise?
See, I don't get that much attention, so I didn't really know he was dead. Because, like, I'm not very good at, like, connecting the dots
Okay.
and that kind of stuff. And I was like, I was like, is that, like, I thought they were talking about, like, the Minister of Magic, and I was just like, like, that doesn't add up there. And I was just like, oh, wait, that's not him, that's his son, okay. Everything's connecting now, alright.
I guess the last part of the scene is when Dumbledore comes in and kind of saves Harry right in the nick of time, blasts through the door and knocks out fake Moody, then kind of interrogates him, right? And we find out that the real Moody was in the trunk all year long, and we learn a little bit more of how Barty Crouch Jr. got here. Anything in there that you really want to talk about, feel free. There's a couple different things, I guess.
How did Dumbledore figure out that the real Mad Eye Moody was hiding in the trunk? Like, wouldn't it be more, like, obvious? Not really obvious, but, like, a little bit more like, yeah, this might actually be the thing if he was, like, hiding in a closet or something. Not all the way at the bottom of a trunk, because that's kind of weird.
Right. The trunk doesn't seem like it would be an obvious choice just to anybody walking in. So how did Dumbledore know?
Yeah, maybe Mad Eye Moody has, like, talked to Dumbledore about, like, his special trunk and, like, oh yeah, like, it's really special.
Oh, and you wouldn't believe what I keep in the 7th trunk. You know, it's like an offhand joke, and Albus remembers that. He's like, huh, this might make sense now.
Yeah. And then Albus, like, just remembers everything, and he's just like, I knew that the real Mad Eye Moody would never let you leave my side after what happened. And I'm just like, how do you know that? Like, that doesn't make any sense of how you would like remember that, or how you would know that.
Yeah,
Some
Albus's
trusting, like, friendship there, I guess.
Yeah, and his ability to kind of manage a lot of different ideas at the exact same time with such huge ramifications for the things going on around, like in such hectic things going on, is probably one of the most impressive qualities we've seen from him. But yeah, like that minor detail it seems to be the crux of how Albus kind of figures out what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of all that happens in this section. Do you have any other thoughts that you want to get out?
Why is Crabbe and Goyle a Death Eater? Like, they're just still at Hogwarts. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
This is their dads.
I thought Crabbe and Goyle was their actual names, though.
That's their last name. Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle. Those are their last names.
That's what happens when they don't ever speak, really. Like,
Right.
It's hard to keep track of that. But yeah, those are their parents.
Yeah. I should say, I assume that they're dads. It could very well be a mother figure too. I have no idea.
Or an uncle or an aunt or a grandfather or
Yeah. Or their mom.
I assume parent, but
yeah, that's what I was saying, Laura. Like, could be they're a mother figure too. I don't think we get any gender-based pronouns. So.
Or did the mom die like every Disney princess ever?
That's true.
Could be.
That's a whole nother soapbox to jump on.
All right, Melissa, you got some burning questions for her?
I do. Are you ready?
Sure.
Here we go. Question 1. Was tying for the cup the right move?
Hogwarts would have won it either way, so sure. No, if it was like a different like school, I'd be like, no, that's mine. See you later, sucker.
But the fact that it was a Hogwarts win, no matter what, then it was okay. Okay.
But I kind of really super duper wanted Hufflepuff to win. But from what we know of, like, that it's like a teleportation thing, I kind just gonna sound mean, but I kind of like need Harry to be there.
Yeah. Because if it's just Cedric, that doesn't do anybody any good. It would have been better maybe if Harry had done it alone.
Well, I also feel like it'd be pretty nice if Harry didn't come, because then Voldemort would not be able to be able to touch Harry because he needs his blood to do that, and or two, he wouldn't be able to come back to life because he needs blood, and he specifically wants Harry's blood.
Because he has an obsession with Harry that borders on the unhealthy. Not even borders. It's way over the edge.
I feel like he needs to be a doctor for that.
It's like those medicine commercials. Do you have this? Then Cymbalta could be right for you.
Are you obsessed with a non-real life character? Well, then this is right for you.
All right, here we go. Question 2.
The little baby that murdered you 14 years ago. Well, then try this. There will be blood. The side effects are blood, death,
and hand loss.
Hand loss, nose loss.
And possible swelling.
Yes. And bleeding very rapidly in the nose, nostril area.
Okay, question 2. Why did Cedric have to die?
I don't think he had to. I don't think he had to die, but I think it was easier. Just I feel like he shouldn't have died. Honestly, not just because he's a Hufflepuff and I don't want him to die, and because Harry needs evidence here that Voldemort did come to life and all this is true. People could just think that Harry's going insane, but people would believe in Cedric because this guy's we don't think he's going crazy because he's not on the newspapers or anything. So yeah, I kind of believe this kid, and what he's saying might be true.
Okay, question number 3. Voldemort says he will recruit the Dementors and the Giant. Mm-hmm. What other creatures might join his army?
I don't really know.
No other creatures. That's it. That's enough.
Yeah, I think all the other ones are nah. I'm okay. I'm good here.
Okay. Question 4. What kind of retaliation might Voldemort take out on his followers since they let Harry get away? What will he do to them because they let Harry escape?
I know he'll be yo, that wasn't cool. I might have to kill you now unless you give me a good reason not to. But it'd be way more funnier if he just sat them all down and been look, I know you didn't come to my birthing, and that really hurt me. I feel... Wait, what's that saying go? I feel like this, and then something.
Like the thing that you teach kids on their I statements, right? Yeah. I feel like this because you said this. I don't like it.
I feel this because this, and I don't like that.
I feel betrayed because you let me escape.
I feel betrayed because you didn't come to my birth, and I sent you an Evite and everything, and I felt really hurt.
No one owl SVP'd. I was really disappointed.
No one RSVP'd to my birthing, and I honestly felt really hurt. At least some people came, but why didn't you come?
Yeah, but those people who came let Harry escape.
Yeah, and it's just, and then he would have another one, just thank you all for coming to my birthday. I think it was really fun for me, but why'd you let him escape? Why'd you let him asked for? The one thing that was on the invitation was make sure that Harry doesn't leave and I can kill him. Look what you did.
You guys let the piñata run away. What?
Yeah. Feel hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I'm starting to tear up now.
She's getting verklempt.
I'm getting verklempt.
All right, you ready for question number 5?
Sure.
All right. So in that last chapter, for a while during that chapter, Harry believed that the real Mad-Eye Moody had been doing all those terrible things, right? Mm-hmm. First, he didn't know that it was a fake Moody, but he thought it was the real guy. Mm-hmm. How would this section or that chapter be different if it had been the real Moody who had done those things?
Man, a lot of people would be very confused because everyone thinks that oh, he hates Dementors and he hates not Dementors. He hates Death Eaters. Like, he's the dude that killed a lot of them. Like, he's the dude that captured almost all of them, and he's, like, the guy who, like, is, like, BFFs with Dumbledore. Nope, he's an entirely different person. He just kills off people Voldemort doesn't want anymore. You know? Voldemort sends him an email, he's like, I got you, and then kablamo, they're dead. And, like, you're all wrong. Y'all are wrong. You saw it.
All right. What was your favorite line?
I feel like it'd be like when Voldemort said, like, now I can touch you. I feel like that's really creepy, and I kind of like it.
Okay.
It's like, I can touch you now.
Yeah.
Boop. And just like,
No matter, I can touch you now.
yeah, just like, that's kind of weird.
All right. Last question. Ready? Who is your section MVP?
I think I kind of like Voldemort a lot in this because he just kept on talking. He wouldn't shut up. Like, and I am like so like I hate people that don't shut up and won't let me talk. I hate people like that. I feel like I would hate him so much. I'd just be like, yo, shut up and kill me.
So why is he the best character then?
Because he talks a lot, but he gives like, I don't know how to explain it, but like he gives good reasoning of why he's talking so much. Because he has to explain so much.
Okay.
And like, I feel like it'd be way much better if it was like nowadays, like this happened now, and just be like way more funnier.
Why?
Because I feel like Voldemort would just be like a total like basic white girl and just be like, okay, here's the tea, sis. I asked for my Frappuccino from Starbucks and I didn't get it. I was pretty mad. So I ratted out.
And they misspelled my name.
They didn't spell my name right. They gotta add that M.
And then Harry would be sitting there, TLDR, bro.
Yeah. And then, like, he'll be like, so, the lady that worked at Starbucks, I got pretty mad at her, and, you know, I kind of read it out a little bit, and then I heard that her, like, baby was there, so I was like, you know what, I feel like murdering a child right now, so I'll go do that. And then it didn't work, because she's such a great mom, and she put up this curse on him. And, like, that made me super mad. And like 14 years later, now I can like finally kill him, but he leaves because of you guys, and I still haven't gotten my Frappuccino. What's up with that?
I wanted one thing.
I simply asked for a caramel Frappuccino and an egg roll, and all I got was a stupid egg roll.
And a bodiless life for the next 14 years.
A bodiless life for the next 14 years. I had to eat rats. You know how gross that is? I couldn't even order Chipotle offline.
I lost my monetizing on YouTube because I wasn't able to post.
I lost my streaks on Snapchat, and I lost my Instagram fame because of you guys, and you didn't keep up with me, and people kept on unfollowing me, and I felt really hurt.
You guys didn't even create a hashtag, you know? Keep it going.
Yeah.
You guys didn't get me trending in 14 years. What the heck?
Like, it's not that simple.
This was a good brand. You guys dropped the ball.
Like, I was about to put out merch here. Like, merch. You know how much merch costs? So much. And all that money just went down the drain.
It's just sitting in a warehouse. It's just sitting in a warehouse. Oh. And no one's buying jelly bracelets anymore. The fad's gone. We missed the wave.
So bad.
All right. Lorelai, this has been enlightening. And thank you, as always, for joining us.
Of course.
I
love my time here.
We will see you again in just a couple weeks. 2 more chapters, so 3 weeks we'll see you again. Wow.
Bye.
Bye. Another one of my favorite people that show up on this show every once in a while is our first-time reader, Riley. Welcome back, buddy.
Hey, yo. What's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Great. In studio.
In studio.
Probably for good. The near future.
I hope so.
Knock
The
on wood,
long
raise your
future.
head.
That sounds like a good plan to me. It makes, I'll say, my life easier.
Heck yeah.
So this, I want to say, is probably one of the most action-packed
Oh yeah.
5-chapter sections that I can remember.
It was exciting.
So just overall thoughts, what jumped out at you as being the most like, whoa?
I mean, the thing that kind of stood out to me mostly, other than, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's very action packed, lots going on. But the thing that's interesting is that a lot of characters throughout the book, and it kind of gets unveiled in this section, right? But a lot of characters are doing a lot of different things off screen or off page, you know?
Mhm.
And so I think getting to see that, you know, right at the end, getting the unveiling of Barty Crouch and kind of his whole scheme and his plans of what he's been doing, that was exciting just in general. Him giving the breakdown at the end of because he has like the Marauders map, he can see where everybody else is. And so him doing things on the outskirts of everybody else and pretty much getting away with it, completing his goal, was pretty interesting to see. Not to mention, I don't know if it's just me getting more used to it, or J.K. Rowling getting better at writing action, but it was good. And throughout the whole third task was exciting, and the graveyard was exciting. So just a really good section overall. A lot of good stuff.
Were you really surprised by the Barty Crouch Jr. thing? I know we've been honest about you've seen the movies.
Yeah.
But did you remember that, and or did it surprise you still even knowing that?
I didn't forget it. I mean, I knew it was him, but I think I was more so surprised at the significance of his story, you know, and I am not usually one to focus or get that excited, or for lack of a better term, excited, but pay that much attention to details. But when they're tied to like a character's backstory, for me, that's when I get really invested in it. So, finding out that his motivation this whole time has been to get back to serving the Dark Lord and completing that goal. That's what was more, because I never realized that aspect. I mean, I knew he was a bad guy essentially, but just the unveiling of this whole plan, like I said, and the fact that Winky was kind of not in on it because she was evil, but she was there helping him, and
she played a part, even if she didn't realize she wasn't meaning to, but she did.
But I just think that whole the elaborateness of it, or how intricate it was really cool. That was surprising to me more so than it being him. Just how much more of a character that he was than I realized previously.
Yeah, I mean, anything else major, or do you want to go kind of chapter by chapter?
Not really. Let's jump into it.
All right. So, first chapter we have in this section starts with the Weasleys showing up to basically support Harry, right? And he has this whole, well, the Dursleys aren't going to show up. I mean, who's going to be here? And he's getting ready to like just go walk off and do his own thing. And then Cedric's like, hey, they're in here waiting for you. He's like, what are you talking about? Like, no.
Right. Like, I don't want to go in if they are.
Yeah, like, hopefully it's not them.
Right.
Any thoughts on Mrs. Weasley and Bill being there?
I think it's a really nice thing to do. I imagine it somewhat like kind of some of the parents of my close-knit friend group. I think if something ever happened to my parents or something ever happened to one of my friends, like, I think it would be just the right thing to do to kind of step in important parts of their lives and be there. So it was just kind of a real home hitter. Felt good. Not that I've ever experienced anything like that, but it just feels really good. And you know, they're such a relatable, honest family. Like, you just know that they're gonna try and do the right thing at every turn, and that's just something that she would think about to do. And so it's like, I don't know, it reminds me of our mom. So
yeah,
it makes me feel good.
Kind of a quick follow up to that scene. They have lunch and in the Great Hall,
Mhm.
and Mrs. Weasley confronts Hermione.
Yeah,
There's
that
a little
was
bit
interesting.
Any thoughts
yeah.
on that? And Harry kind of being like, "No, this isn't a thing." Like,
Right. I mean, because it was so long ago that we actually touched on that I completely forgot about the whole Rita Skeeter Hermione thing. Not necessarily forgot, but it wasn't at the front of my mind when I was reading this. And so to have that called back, and of course, like, and this is another example of other characters not forgetting things that happened, and them actually acting upon the things that would have come from their come at their perspective. So I think I've noticed a lot more of that in this section towards the end of this book, of other characters really having their own agendas, and really, because most of the time, I mean, obviously not the whole time, but most of the story so far has really been placed in this small perspective of the three characters. So it's, and not that other characters don't have plans and follow up on them, while like in the earlier parts of the books they definitely do, but I think we're just getting more and more evidence of that shown to us and explained to the kids, and maybe that's because they're getting older and they're being allowed to be shown more of the older adult perspective.
That, or like as they're maturing,
They're picking up
to notice it more. Like before, they just wouldn't have noticed.
Yeah,
that's specifically the question. You guys both are hitting it, already answering my question. There's like three things that could be going on here, right? Harry's perspective is maturing. I mean, he's noticing these other things and acting upon them. And also, at the same time, maybe J.K. Rowling's writing has consistently gotten better throughout these books.
I think so.
I think that's a factor. And there's also the target audience has grown up a little bit and has matured with it as well. And I know Melissa and I have talked about, I've always felt like I grew up with the books, and like I don't know, emotionally felt like it was growing and I was maturing alongside a lot of these characters. So I think I always kind of have a perspective of like the readership that it's specifically written for, which is why I find Lorelei's stuff so interesting as well. And so that's why, does any three of those jump out, or is it just a combination of all three of them? Is there another part of it?
I mean, I agree with a lot of that. I mean, with all three of them, the only other thing that I would throw in there on top, like kind of closely lined with Harry's perspective growing, is I think the stakes of all of the situations have been increasing, which obviously the writing of the book goes along with the perspective or the target audience growing as well. And the content gets a little bit, darker, obviously, at this point, but more intricate, kind of like we talked about. I think that because the stakes are getting higher in the story, and Harry's being thrown into all of these different things, people like the Weasleys are telling him more, and people like Dumbledore are giving him, like at the end, he says, no, he needs to see. And so earlier on,
sugarcoat it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to go through this emotional.
So I think the adult characters are not even necessarily the adult characters, but those older than him are allowing him to grow up maybe a little bit faster than he even should have to. And he's kind of had to do that his whole life, but.
Yeah. No, and to me, that's one of the really big topics, but which I'm sure we'll keep touching on as we continue on. So then we actually get to the maze itself.
Yeah.
So of all of the obstacles that Harry comes across, or that we hear about, because there's a couple that happen kind of off screen, what to you was the most interesting thing that one of the champions had to deal with?
So I really liked the Sphinx and the Sphinx's riddle. But I don't like that he was just able to do it. And it was kind of, it had one of my favorite lines it wasn't my favorite one, but it was close, when the Sphinx goes through the whole riddle. And at this point I was actually like listening to it on audiobook, and she like goes through it. It's pretty quick, and he goes, could you run through that again a little slower? And I was like, yes, you're right. Could you please do that a little slower for me? Because and so that was funny, but
that's one of those times like the audiobook helps you almost feel, because it's a very audible thing. Shout out to Audible. But like it's an audio driven thing that in real life, if you hear these 3 riddles that all add up to one big riddle, you'd be like, can I get that written to look at it?
Yeah.
Or can you just, let's go through it again? Is that an option? Like it's a very realistic thing.
I did have it. So I totally picked up on the riddle of somebody in disguise being a spy.
Mhm.
Before Harry got to it, I picked up on that because I was kind of trying to go through it as well. And then the der thing. I mean, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
ER.
Yeah. I got that one. But was the middle one about the letter D?
It
At
was.
end to end and
It's the
mend?
middle of middle and
Middle of
end to
middle.
end. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I figured.
That's
too.
a very kind of
And
classic.
the last thing to mend.
The last
Yeah.
thing to mend. Middle
Yeah.
of middle and end to end. It's a very classic riddle, like
play on the
lettering.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that. But
that was my favorite one of all of the riddles there.
yeah, I thought that was the one that I had to figure out even after the word spider came up. I had to think about it a little bit more, but I kind of picked up on it. But that wasn't my favorite thing, like reading through or listening through this part of the section. For the maze, I really liked when Harry's world got flipped upside down.
Yes.
The golden mist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was the coolest because it has some kind of symbolic like strains to it in the sense where your world gets flipped upside down. What's the last thing that you want to do is let go or let your feet move and
take that leap.
Take
of
the
faith.
leap. Yeah, so I thought that was really good for a growing wizard, jumping into the world, being thrust into doing things. I think having to overcome taking that leap I liked that challenge the most.
Yeah, and
that,
go for it, Melissa.
I was going to say, now I'm singing the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song.
Right, yeah.
I'm over here just humming it in my head. You all keep going.
Upside down.
Uh-huh.
If
you'd like to take a minute, just sit right there.
No copyrights.
No, I'm very much with you on the symbolism of him having to kind of use that as almost like a quick growing mechanism in the middle of this, like because it was kind of easy until that point. This was the first thing that challenged him, and he had to. And then he had a lot of really, really, really difficult things post maze, or even like towards the end of the maze. But yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. I like that. And then he gets through the Sphinx, and he I'll mention 2 things, and I'll let you pick which one you want to chat about first. He ends up working with Cedric twice, right? Fighting the spider and Victor Crumb.
Right.
What do you think of that?
So, I mean, Crumb was kind of a letdown for me. I mean, like I said, I'd seen the movies. I knew kind of what was going to happen, but I was hoping that I knew he was just under a curse. But I was hoping that would kind of play out a little bit more. Obviously, like we find out that his goal was to take out Cedric, but under the curse. I just thought there could have been more to that battle because obviously he wasn't the bad guy of the story, and they even mentioned, I thought he was a good guy, but he was kind of painted as this, favorite to win, other than maybe Cedric, right? But world star Quidditch player, great wizard. So I would have liked to see more out of that.
But more like a full on duel, or
just more of a fight being put up, and obviously he wasn't going to hurt Harry, and so he runs away from him. But I don't know. It was just kind of lackluster. It was just another step for them both to overcome, which led to their alliance and agreement at the end. But really, the spider was cool because that's the first thing that we've ever seen get hit by a spell and not react to it. I mean, I think so. That's the first time. I mean, up until this point, I was under the impression that if something got zapped,
like there's no armor, the factor,
right? If something got zapped, they got zapped, and the spider, I guess, was so big or so magical, like they mentioned, that it didn't affect it. And so that concept to me is the fact that some things are just more naturally magically resistant is interesting. So I'd never had that perspective, even growing up watching the movies before. So
yeah, they didn't do a whole lot. I feel like the spider scene was really quick in the movie, but we'll get to the movie here in just a couple weeks.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I like that you picked up on that part of like the way magic works here, the magical mechanisms, and I think you might be right. That is, aside from like failed spells,
Right.
the first time there's been like a magical resistance that wasn't like directly, a shield charm. Like it.
And also another interesting thing is that obviously in terms of magical mechanisms, these spells aren't a continual stacking thing. Like it's not like, oh, I hit you with the stupefy spell and now your health bar's down or your magical resist is down and then the next one's going to work. No, it's not like that at all. If you get hit with a spell and it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. The only time that the spider got affected was when both of their stupefy spells hit at the same time. So it's interesting just from, I don't know, a fantasy gamer and nerd and enthusiast perspective that it's more about the on-hit effect rather than how many is dealt.
At least
Not
for
cumulative.
What?
Not cumulative.
Right.
Like, you can't continually hit and then accumulate negative points or whatever.
To an effect.
you
I
don't
mean,
that we've seen yet.
yeah, I'm sure like using later on. I'm sure like using it later on. Like the Cruciatus curse, you use that once on somebody, probably the next time you use it right after is gonna maybe even be worse, right? But that
constitution's lower kind of thing.
That might be a mental, thing more so
or
than
a human thing where
Right.
at this point we're fighting a spider, so it has different rules.
100%.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that magical barrier. Kind of like basically there's some kind of shield that you have to get through before it can actually deal any damage, right?
Yeah.
We also have seen in the past that multiple spells are additive. We have seen
Yeah.
that before. We've seen, I'm not going to say anything because I'm not sure if we've actually touched on that specifically, but we've seen that spells are additive. So that's another cool thing, I think, that you can...
Whether they're against each other or with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen later on, we can talk about. But.
Yep. So they get through that, they decide to buddy up, and they convince each other.
Right.
They kind of argue and bicker, which I thought was kind of a nice little scene. And they're both completely valid in their reasoning.
Yeah.
For they both deserved it. And Cedric ended up putting his foot down saying, no, you're going to take it.
Right.
And Harry said, no, we'll take it together. Any thoughts on just that or?
Not too much. Right. Yeah, no.
It's nice.
It was a cool scene.
And then they do.
Yeah.
And then they transport to a graveyard.
Oops.
Like, wait.
Yeah.
I like the first line that they have is Cedric goes, did anyone tell you that the cup was a portkey? Like,
yeah.
And what's the first thing that happens right when they get there?
Oh, they see, they kind of notice where they're at. They notice the tombstone. And Harry notices the writing. Maybe not at this point. Maybe that comes a little later. But they see the figure walking towards them of Wormtail.
Holding a bundle.
I almost said a different character that starts with the name Worm from a
little worm tongue action.
From a different book series that I just finished. But but yeah, we see Wormtail walking towards them holding baby Mort.
Baby Mort.
And yeah, we just kind of bust into this whole action scene in the beginning. Cedric goes down quickly.
Kill the spare.
And then it's just kind of a whirlwind of events from this point on. Wormtail starts the potion. He ties up Harry, starts the potion. And we get this really intense inside look at Harry's perspective, which was the coolest part. Yeah, the whole story's from Harry's perspective, but this is fear. This is the end, and he knows it, and he's just grasping for every straw, hoping that the potion fails, or maybe not a potion is a bad way to put it, but
some kind of potion-based ritual.
Enchantment.
Yeah.
There's a cauldron. I say potion.
But yeah, so he's just really grasping for any glimpse of hope.
Let it have drowned. Please let it drown.
And it really doesn't seem like he's going to get any. And he really doesn't. Obviously not until they intermingle in the battle, but there's a lot that happens before that. This is probably one of my favorite moments so far in the whole. It's definitely my favorite. I'm going to start liking everything a lot more and more just because I didn't get into the Harry Potter stuff as heavily until I was an adult, not an adult, but I watched the earlier movies when I was a little bit younger, but I didn't care about them. But once the story starts to get more dark and get more high stakes, because I keep saying that, but that's when I really like it. So this scene has been the most exciting thing for me to read so far, because I mean, not only do we have this fearsome this terrified perspective from Harry dealing with his biggest fear face to face, we also get, you know, the return of Voldemort, which I think, you know, I never knew the story of how it happened, or never realized it, but the description of how he returned to power was the coolest thing for me, and him, you know, grilling all of his servants, and the buildup of the one who was so faithful to him. That was awesome. But just the concept of, I'm obviously he's the bad guy, but I like bad guys. I like good, well-written bad guys, and him just having to will to exist for so long, and then going through every step, every ounce of power to keep getting a little bit more, you know, embodying rats and snakes, and them dying because he's taking too much of their life force, and then finding anybody to help him. I just thought that return to power, that it wasn't a ladder, it was a 90-degree hill that he had to climb back up, not only showcases like how hard it was for him, but how powerful he is. And then he says, I wouldn't know, later on when he's talking about how Harry
might even be painless.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
I've never died. And he should have. And so I just think that is a really cool scene.
So what I'm hearing is Voldemort is a really good case study for resiliency.
Oh yeah.
That's such a different take, and it's so good. Like, how do I teach people how to be that determined to succeid?
He has a goal.
Quite a Sisyphus. Sisyphus. He is going to keep pushing that rock up that hill.
That's right.
Sisyphus.
Talk a little bit about, you mentioned the one faithful servant.
Yeah.
In this section, so when he comes back and he does his monologue and his Death Eaters come back and all of that, did you have a prediction on who that was?
Kind of. I was surprised it wasn't Wormtail, but I also kind of know how he views that relation, about how Voldemort views that relationship. Like I said, I didn't know that Barty Crouch Jr. was this integral part of the return, or at least in his eyes, because I don't think he was. I mean, he obviously got Harry Potter there, but I mean, Wormtail did the most work. So I knew it wasn't going to be him, but I thought it should be.
Was there any thought that it could have been Snape? With the confirmation that he was a Death Eater, and he says, "My loyal Death Eater at Hogwarts."
Yeah, I think I saw more into that being a front than that being a.
But you saw the red herring, side of it.
I was surprised. So to answer your question, I didn't really have like a prediction.
Okay.
But the thing that did surprise me about him going through and talking to all his Death Eaters was that Sirius was never mentioned. So I don't know if I missed out on the fact that Sirius wasn't a Death Eater before, or Voldemort has just written him off like with the others, but I was surprised that wasn't brought up at all.
So Sirius was never a Death Eater.
Okay.
That was just the story that Wormtail spun. Wormtail was.
Right.
And by him being the one who betrayed them to Voldemort.
Okay.
And then Sirius went to confront Wormtail about it, because Sirius was the only one who knew Wormtail was the secret keeper.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I pretty much knew that, but had just kind of forgotten some of the details. Fine, But I reading that was the only thing that surprised me, but obviously I was mistaken. But
one thing that you were kind of getting on at the very end of that chapter 36, right where it basically says Lord Voldemort had risen again, and to me that really is like the pinnacle point, right? I mean, the first 4 books have essentially led to, the worst thing that could happen is Voldemort returns, right? And that's why this is like such a pinnacle point to me in the story. And I don't know if it was on one of our episodes or just talk with Melissa, I was like, reading this 5-chapter section, this feels like almost the most Harry Potter section, like just straight, I don't know what it is, like fundamental Harry Potter
Right.
that we get. And I think some of it's like what you were talking about with being in Harry's perspective, like we were, and he's seeing literally the most terrifying thing in the wizard, not even just to Harry, but like to wizarding society at large. He is seeing this, and we're feeling that with him. And guess what? It still goes through.
Right.
It's not like, oh, and then something happens, and the ring goes into Mount Doom, and
well,
it's
yeah,
all
that's
okay
I
now.
was gonna
Like,
use the same analogy. It's as if Gandalf is tied down watching Sauron put on the ring, and now there's 5 more books of how
Dealing
they're
with
gonna
that
deal with
now.
that. No, it's
Right.
not. It's not that for that story, but it is for this one.
right,
You know.
right. This is Sauron getting the ring.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't kill Gandalf.
Right.
Gandalf escapes. But yeah, no, I think that's a really, really well said analogy there. And so the other thing that you kind of touched on was him kind of berating his Death Eaters that
Yeah.
return. What do you think of the 13 years of penance that they have to do?
Oh, yeah, that was something that I didn't really like think about it too much, but he seems like he leads with the strong fist and he leads with fear. You know, he is the most powerful being, assumably, according to him.
In his head, for sure.
Yeah, and so I mean, if he believes it that much, the people that are going to follow him better believe it too.
Mhm.
And I mean, I believe that there is a nobility to Voldemort already. Just the way that he talks, and not nobility in terms of like being a good noble, but there's a what's the word? When you're in a king's court and you have to speak with like
He has a certain air of tradition.
Yes,
and
yeah,
a
yeah.
presence
Mhm.
that kind of demands that of
And
everyone
so
else.
I
Is that-
think, yeah, 100%.
Definitely charismatic.
What?
He's definitely charismatic.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he commands a room.
Definitely.
Not because he tells them things, but like he owns the space he's in.
Mhm. And I think that because he runs with that sort of tradition, yeah, he's sent 13 years of penance or whatever on them. But I think more so he's like if somebody were to do something so great that he saw in his eyes as right along with his cause, something that he didn't expect somebody to do, then maybe that sentence would drop down in his eyes, and not
he would reward them.
Yeah, and so I think he takes sort of that tradition and that expects that loyalty, and he'll reward you for it. He's not. I don't think he's necessarily entirely evil. From what I've seen so far and the way that he speaks and his goal, I think he's a terrible, terrible power and terrible guy. I'm not Team Voldemort, but I think that there's going to be some more.
Like he's not necessarily doing it just to be bad. He's like he has a purpose behind his choices.
Mm-hmm. And so he's going to do whatever it takes to get that purpose served, and he's going to reward the people who help him, and he's going to instill fear in everybody around him.
Nor fail to reward with that which is given. Fealty with love, valor with honor, oath breaking with vengeance.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Lord of the Rings references are continuing, but that's really what it feels like to me. It's like if you are going to work for him and it's going to be really beneficial, I think he would recognize you for that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, he's looking at this as oath breaking on their part,
Oh, yeah.
not searching him out, and he's letting them know that.
Yeah.
He's
I don't
not
have a
wrong
problem
for
with
the
it.
system that he's created.
Right.
I don't think they shouldn't be surprised by how he's treating them, I guess.
That's how I feel. Yeah.
Right.
So then we have this kind of squaring off. We have Voldemort forcing Harry into some humiliation, right?
Mhm.
He uses the Cruciatus curse on him. He tries to use the Imperius curse on him. Harry fights it off, and then kind of hides for a minute. And Voldemort continues to kind of taunt him and forces him. Harry decides to stand up and face Voldemort
Right.
like a man, like with his back straight, like his father did. What did you think of Harry dealing with that and then going out and getting into the duel?
We already know that Harry is the guy, right? So
My man.
he's gonna be able to do some incredible things. But I mean, being able to fend off the Imperius curse, like that is incredible to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
That was
not
astounding.
like he had ever faced it before. You know, it's not like he had ever. And so I think it's interesting that we're finally seeing him innately overcome all of these dark arts that he's been defending against in class. but it's not something that he's learning or has learned.
He did face the Imperious Curse.
Did he?
From fake Moody. Or
Oh.
first or second class, he puts the Imperious Curse on. It's in like the first couple weeks. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it is because the first class is with the three spiders. The next couple, he ends up putting them on underneath the Imperious Curse. He's the only one that fights it, and in fact,
he does it so many times that he can completely throw it off entirely. Like he's been trained to do this.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I forgot about
fake
that.
Moody's like teaching has kind of backfired in this one.
Yeah,
like, he literally built up his tolerance to it.
Right.
Fake Moody, great teacher.
If Barty Crouch would have just gone to be a teacher,
I don't know.
He had a career.
I have conflicting feelings about.
So far, most effective without a teacher yet.
That or Lupin's
Lupin
pretty good.
Awesome.
But this is as real world,
I don't know. Lupin trained Harry how to fight one specific creature.
Oh, he had a bunch more.
I know.
Creatures. Because third year was creature year.
Barty Crouch trained him how to fight Lord Voldemort. So, tipping the scales.
Lupin saved his soul. Fake Moody saved his life.
Yep.
How about that?
Sure.
So then they get into...
but you're all forgetting that Lockhart told him that fame is a fickle friend and taught him how to please the people. So, he was kind of important too.
He was.
No.
Kind of important too. Oh, so then the duel starts, and Voldemort's still kind of taunting him as this. And he goes, "First we bow," and then he goes through the motions and goes straight for the killing curse, right? And Harry just remembers the one spell that he learned in dueling class from
Barty Crouch,
Snape.
Oh, you're right.
Against Lockhart. And their wands connect. The spells hit and don't just like veer off. They connect, and it creates this kind of golden sphere thing where they raise up off the ground, and Phoenix Song starts playing. They move in the air and land somewhere else. All the other Death Eaters like, oh no, they go and reform the circle around them. And then these magical beads kind of show up on the strand, the thread between their wands, and Harry ends up willing the beads to Voldemort, because as the one got close to his wand, he could feel it violently shaking. He's like, I don't want that. That sounds like bad news bears.
Yeah.
And so he wills it across, and then we have this kind of reverse echo ghost shadow thing come up with those 5 characters. And what did you think about hearing that?
I mean, that was a crazy thing, right? Not a lot was explained about it. The one thing that I did notice was it was the five people that came out were the 5 characters that he killed in reverse. So I thought that was interesting. I'm assuming it's the 5 that were killed by that wand. Okay. But I don't know. I just think it is.
I guess we're led to believe that Wormtail was using Voldemort's wand when he kills Cedric.
Sure.
Right at the beginning of that last chapter.
Yeah, because...
I guess he did.
If
and
it's to
Frank
be the same
Bryce
wand.
too.
We know when Frank Bryce got killed, it just says the chair was turned around and he saw what was sitting in the chair, and then it goes away. Like, we don't see anything else. So
last 5 wizards.
Frank Bryce was one of them. Frank Bryce was there.
Who is that? The groundskeeper?
Caretaker, yeah.
Was he a wizard?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
But I'm saying it doesn't have to be Voldemort who used the wand, so it must have been Wormtail.
Oh, was that guy there too?
He was there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that one killed me. I guess he really was a wizard. Huh. It's like, you fight him, boy. Is I think.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
What he does, but there's just some kind of questions on: did baby fetus sitting in the chair Voldemort use his wand somehow and kill?
I think it was
or
the
did
wand.
Wormtail use the wand and kill him?
I think it was the wand.
Open-ended
Yeah,
questions.
I think it's the wand.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a crazy magical phenomenon, right? Like, not only is Harry and the reader surprised by it, but the Death Eaters don't know what's going on. They haven't seen it, nor has Voldemort, the strongest wizard, apparently. So obviously, this is some kind of contest that is tied to a magical. What was the word that we used earlier for the way magic works?
mechanism.
Yeah, a magical mechanism that has been yet to be seen. I think it probably has to do with them being tied together, because we find out. Oh, another interesting thing that we find out from Voldemort when he's running through his history is that not only was Harry placed under the care or saved by the love of his mother, which backfired and connected those two, but he was. Didn't realize this, and we can come back to the fight in a second. I didn't realize that he was placed under magical care when he was with his family, the Dursleys in general, by Albus Dumbledore. So that was something interesting to me, that the one thing that has been protecting Harry for so long is the thing that he's been trying to escape from the most. So
Terrible people.
yeah, side thought, but I don't really know. I mean, it was cool. It's tough to really pinpoint how awesome it is right now, because we don't have a lot of information on it, and it's hard to kind of imagine. I mean, when I think of the beads coming off of it, I'm not sure kind of what that means or what that looks like, but I think it's an interesting thing that we hopefully will find more about.
Yeah, this is another one of those like seemingly huge, big magic events that, like you said, seems to be maybe such a rare occurrence that, I mean, no one here knows what it's all about, and stands out as like, wow, okay, magic can get bigger. Like sometimes it does things
Right.
not knowing to the people performing the magic. It's there's a lot of those things, and this one stands out as a wait, what? Like, and also creating like this incredibly huge book cinematography thing. Like, it's such a visual thing, and you're like, that just sounds ridiculous. Like, what is going on? And when we talked to Lorelai in the last section here, she was like, it was too much. Did you feel like it was too much, or does it just kind of up the level of this is important to you? Like, did you feel like it was overdone?
I don't think it was overdone. I was listening to it as well, so I didn't have to read through it and kind of read all of the descriptions. It was just kind of like snap, get through it. And it made it feel important. So I think I was more interested in kind of, like I said, the intricacies and the backstories and the dramatics that all of the evil guys were playing up, more so than the action itself. But it definitely did add another layer to the significance of the event. So.
Yeah, this is one of those chapters you could reread a few times and keep picking new things up. So that's why it's like, yeah, no, there's a lot going on here.
I like that. The one thing about the fight that I did really, really like is that it wasn't all spell on spell right away. The first thing Harry does is jump out of the way because of his Quidditch instincts, so I thought that was the thing that stuck out the most kind of in the fight. But
it's not just spell to spell, it's also human instinct at times. Yeah, that's a really good point. The beads end up hitting Voldemort's wand, right? And then these shadow echo, whatever they are, things come out, and they talk to Harry a little bit, and they're circling around Voldemort, and then we have Harry's mother come out. And she says, your father will be here, in just a minute. Did you feel any emotional connection with his parents showing up, or is it just kind of like, okay, yeah, that's just what it is, and they played their part to help him get out?
I mean, I noticed the emotional connection that was there, right? But I think I alongside Harry was so wrapped up in the moment and gotta do what you gotta do. And who knows if he was even like hallucinating. He just got bitten by a spider. He got Cruciatus cursed.
He had a broken ankle
a couple times. He had a broken ankle. His
upside down.
His most like worthy adversary and rival just died next to him. So and like friend in a way, So if anything, he could have just been hallucinating. Obviously, why would the groundskeeper guy come out? It's definitely something to it. But in his mind, who knows? And so I think while there was that, oh, he's been seeing this face for 13 years or blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's there. But I don't think And I think this is the thing about Harry that makes him such a good hero, is that his instinct isn't to sit there and talk to his parents. It's to, all right, listen, decide what the task is. How do I get out? How do I keep going? And he does that. And so I think that's, he has that emotional moment, but he doesn't really get the chance to have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the opportunities there, the significance is there, but he doesn't take the time to think about that. He puts emotion to the wayside, and he does what has to be done.
Well, I think that goes all the way back to book 1 with the mirror, they said, where he had to make the choice. I have to move on. I have to stop seeking out my parents. They're dead. They're not coming back. Right. So this is something that he has trained for.
Mm-hmm.
The ability to stop the emotional connection to his parents when he needs to be in the moment.
Choose to let go to do the action that's necessary in this case.
That's interesting. I love it when you, Melissa, bring up all of these old things that he's done that have prepared, because I don't put those together. I don't put back in the mirror. I just think it's one thing that he goes through, but obviously there are more links in the writing and in the story that he has prepared for a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I promise, though, that was the thought I had 30 seconds ago. It's not like I've made
no,
this big
yeah,
connection.
No, that's so, but still,
I'm
I
not
think
cool sound, but thank you for making me sound cool.
No, I think you've done that, and obviously I forgot about it in this same book, but the Imperious Curse training for that, I didn't even think about that. But a lot of what he's gone through in the past books are coming back to aid him when it comes time. So I think that's an interesting thing that I'll probably have to start paying more attention to on my own, as new, obviously greater challenges come out. Try to think back of what he's gone through in the past.
Far.
Yeah, I really do think that's one of the things that makes these books so rereadable, is they really do, you do see that character building block thing going on, and you're not going to catch them all. I mean, there's just no way. And until you reread it and you're like, oh man, that makes me think of this thing that happened in book 6. I see why he was mentally ready for it, or emotionally ready for it, or even just physically ready for it. And you don't really, when you just pointed out, his first instinct was to use his Quidditch skills and jump out of the way. They just keep building, and he becomes better.
And I will be honest with you, I never thought of that as Quidditch skills.
Well, they say it in the book.
Doesn't matter. It never really occurred to me. In my head, it's a little kid.
Yeah.
Running away. You know what I mean? Doesn't have that natural instinct to fight with magic yet. Still just a little kid. But anyway, continue, Luke. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. That's what we're here for. Yeah. So we then get Harry's father that comes out, and he says, it's good to see you. They kind of have a very, very brief, but even James is like, okay, you're going to have to do this. It's going to be hard. We're going to try to do what we can to mitigate the danger around you. When we say break the connection, do it. Get to the cup and get back. And Cedric has his bring my body back.
What a jerk. You're already dead.
So you don't think that it's I guess what do you think about
No,
that?
I'm just kidding. I think that's it's a great thing to ask for. I think James Potter is obviously a very good wizard and smart guy. If that's really him talking, him being able to infer that, maybe him and Cedric were talking about it wherever they were, but just come up with that plan to get Harry to safety, or at least put that into his mind, is awesome. And I think we see a lot of it's easy to infer because Harry's such a naturally talented wizard that maybe a lot of that comes from James. But I was just kidding about the Cedric thing. Obviously, I think that's an important piece of Harry, and an important thing that he's going to stick to is do the right thing kind of mentality. And in the moment, Harry's probably only thinking about saving himself.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. His parents are... He needs the reminder, but he would have done it he wouldn't have done it necessarily without it, but now that it's in his head, that's no question. So
I think it's not an option.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if anything, he would have gotten to the cup and seen, because he had to jump over the cup to get to Cedric's body.
And he probably would have had to make a decision.
Yeah.
Which could have cost him.
Exactly. So, that hesitation of oh, I'm at the cup. Oh, there's, being able and then that jumping there. I mean, that could have been the end of it. So luckily,
being able to put it in plan before he started to act, I think that's what allowed him to complete the whole mission.
Yeah, and he does,
Mhm.
and he brings his body back. They get back to Hogwarts, and there's all the fanfare, and like, oh yeah, they're back. Hang on a second, this doesn't look quite right.
Yeah.
What would you think if you were sitting in the crowd and you saw them show up on the
I
lawn?
was surprised nobody shouted out he killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, this whole time, everybody's hating Harry Potter. All of this slander is getting put out of him, but it doesn't seem like slander to the outsiders people. They see Harry put his name into break the rules, put his name into the cup. They see him rescue more people because he's trying to look like the best wizard. You know, he wants to be seen. Oh, he hates Cedric. You know, he wants to be seen as the king of Hogwarts.
We know he's been having these outbursts where
Right.
he's potentially dangerous and shouldn't be allowed.
His girlfriend is going to the ball with Victor Crumb, so
Best friend is a giant.
yeah. So everybody hates Harry Potter, right? So why doesn't anybody think Harry Potter killed Cedric to win? Or at least initially. Maybe that'll come up in the next chapter, but
Yeah, that's a really
That's a
good,
good question.
point.
Absolutely.
I was surprised.
And it could, at this point, like you were saying, maybe it'll come up, and it could just be, again, it's such a hectic, Harry's just, he's so distraught, right? And now he's in
Right.
a safe place, and it's starting to like hit him in waves, right? And he's kind of explaining to Dumbledore as he realizes, he's like, he wanted me to bring his body back. That was really, really important because he's
Exhausted,
he's spent. It's hitting him, and he can't hear anything else. And until Fudge comes up, and he's like, "Oh, the boy's dead. Like, let's be quiet about it." But I'm shouting about it anyway.
Yeah.
Fudge is an idiot, but
Nobody realized Cedric was dead because Harry was laying face down too. So maybe nobody got it at first.
Mhm.
Right.
And Dumbledore's, telling Harry, "You stay right here," and Fudge is like, "No, he needs to go to the hospital wing," and Dumbledore's like, "No, you stay right here." And then Cedric's parents are right there, and Dumbledore has to be the one to talk to him. And Harry gets whisked away
Right.
by Mad Eye. And then we get the whole spiel of Harry going through thinking, wait, Mad Eye Moody was the what? Like, this doesn't make any sense at all. He's like, it can't be you. Like, what do you think of the way that kind of all unfolds on Harry?
I mean, I think it's supposed to go right along with what I think there's parts of the story where Harry's perspective is supposed to be his perspective, and then there's kind of parts where it's supposed to be ours in terms of, I think, a lot of the mystery stuff. When he finds things out, it's supposed to be what we find out. So I think the way that plays out in such a surprise is kind of, in the way Lorelai says it, a little much. In terms of over dramatizing the reveal. I get it. Like, I don't have a problem with it, but it did kind of seem like, oh, it was Mad Eye Moody. What? Whoa, what's going on? I totally didn't see that coming. Like, just forced. It was kind of like forced in my face a little bit, but I didn't think it was bad. I think it was surprising to an extent, and especially the more surprising thing was the backstory of Barty Crouch later on when he's on the True Serum. But I think the initial unveiling was a little corny.
Okay, yeah, and no, that makes a lot of sense, and like you said, it is very surprising. But at the same time, it ends up being like another kind of red herring. All wrapped up in. That is what it is, but it's kind of a weird, like, half fold back on itself, if that makes sense. Because it's like, no, there's no way it could be like the one person that it can't be. Like, that's as unlikely as Dumbledore being the guy, and then it is, and then we find out quickly it's not. Like, it's, but I don't know. I always really liked that little half step back on itself. It just added that extra layer of, which on rereads, I think, make it even better when you think of all the times that it was Mad Eye, it was Barty Crouch Jr. the whole time.
Yeah.
Every single thing we've seen from him has been this Death Eater in disguise. And that's, I think, the beauty of that portion of it. The actual reveal right here, sure. Like, maybe could be a little bit better, but...
Oh, yeah. No, I think...
On the rereadability scale, that's a pro level move right there.
No, and so in terms of being surprised, like I said, the initial thing kind of threw me off. Whatever, not threw me off, but kind of I didn't enjoy it that much. But the unveiling, the story of Crouch, the whole time that it's him doing it, and that he had this plan, and everything that he was doing was to get back to Voldemort. That was incredible because he's never been a character in my mind in the story. Like even knowing what happens beforehand and knowing the story when I was younger, like watching the movies, not even that long ago, every time I've watched them, like I've never thought of him as, I thought he was just a guy who was told to do that, but no, this was his goal, and
much more of a puppet master.
Yes, and he's intelligent about the way that he goes about things. He kept Moody around in order to not only use the Polyjuice potion, but to find out his mannerisms and his backstory, and be able to infiltrate that relationship that he had with Dumbledore. And so I just think that was incredible. Definitely that reveal of kind of the, like you said, the puppeteering, or the like web of strings that he pulled together to make this, to pull this off. And he did it. He was successful. Voldemort wasn't, but he in terms of being a bad guy with a goal, completed it.
He did literally exactly what he was trying to do.
Right.
He got Harry to the graveyard. That was it.
This
was, okay, well, it's back in my hands. What? Okay, let's work through this.
And he even goes on saying, like, you almost screwed it up like so many times.
Yeah.
But he adapted every time. Barty Crouch, he figured out a way to make it happen.
It was a robust plan.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of takes us through most of the stuff. Is anything else in that end section you wanted to touch on? Dumbledore showing up and blasting him through the door. Real Moody being in the trunk.
Right. Other than Dumbledore kind of forcing Harry to watch and listen to everything, not really.
Was that a good choice?
I think so. Yeah, I think that needed to happen.
All right. I think Melissa might have some burning questions for you.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Question number 1. Was tying for the cup the right move?
I mean, yeah, because Harry should have won it, but he shouldn't have been in the tournament. So, in my eyes, they both deserve to win. Because if you think about it, yes, they helped each other back and forth. They're square. Technically, they're not. Harry helped in the first. Cedric helped in the second. Harry helped twice in the third. Harry wins. But Harry shouldn't have been in the tournament. So, I think the tie is fair. Right choice.
Really, when it came down to it, Harry says that I'm not going to win any foot races. Cedric had the opportunity to win. To me, he has every right to win. He's the one on the bad side of it.
Yeah.
I also think the tying is the right choice, but
if I was Cedric, I wouldn't have.
That's why you're a Slytherin.
No.
That's why I was trying to play.
I would have killed Harry and said, I would have killed Harry right when the spider died and said, "Oh, sorry, missed."
Spider did it. That's my excuse for everything. Oh, giant spider did it. Whoops.
I don't see any bite marks. Yeah, he used the killing curse on him.
So weird.
So weird. He pulled out a wand.
I've never seen a spider do that before in my life.
He had 8 wands.
He had 8 wands. He got hit with 8 killing curses. One wasn't going to work. We know that. That was proven.
Yeah.
We needed 8 cumulative spells.
All right, question number 2. Why did Cedric have to die?
Because Voldemort. I mean, why do you think he said kill the spare? Do you think from Voldemort's perspective? Okay.
From
Or perspective, really.
I mean, from a storyline perspective, he has to die to raise the stakes for Harry and to set the tone for the story from a writing perspective. From Voldemort's perspective, it's simply, we're not going to be able to take on this task if both of these kids are here in my state right now. Like, he's still got to cut off Wormtail. Wormtail's still got to cut off his hand. They got to get Harry's blood. They got to light the fire on the cauldron.
Got stuff to do.
So
cut the fat, kill the spare.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had to die because they couldn't do it.
All right. Here we go. Question 3. Voldemort, once he's back in able-bodied mode, tells his Death Eaters that they are going to recruit the Dementors and the Giants to their side. What other creatures might join his army?
Ooh, I don't know. Probably dumb, evil ones. Like, I would say, like, dragons might, but in my experience, dragons are really intelligent, so probably not.
Is that all the dragons you've ever met in your life?
And selfish. Oh yeah, I'm a big dragon guy. But I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of creatures yet. You know, I mean, we have in Hagrid's classes and stuff, but I don't think we've seen a lot of sentient creatures.
What about like the centaurs?
They seemed like they were pretty anti-evil in the first book, right? With the stuff running through the forest.
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
the mer people. I'm just thinking
potentially,
about
yeah, like mer people, yeah.
The trolls.
Oh yeah, probably. So
Okay.
creatures like that, yeah.
Okay. All right. Question number 4. What kind of retaliation might Voldemort take out on his Death Eaters since they let Harry escape the graveyard?
Oh, probably the same kind of stuff that he was doing to the people who didn't accept him in the first war, right? So the thing that comes to my mind is like using the Cruciatus curse on people and people you know and making you watch and stuff like that. So maybe he's not even necessarily gonna kill or torture his followers, but he might do something to the people they care about. If they care about people more than they cared about him all these years, let's see how much they care when he gets his hands on them.
I'd say that's a very good answer.
Yeah,
That's a really good answer because I have to keep my Death Eaters alive. Like I can't kill them.
I need
kill and maim their loved ones to keep them in line.
Mm-hmm.
Good answer.
Okay, good answer.
I'd be a really good bad guy.
Family Feud. Good answer. Good answer.
All right. Last question.
Yep.
For a while in the last section, Harry believes that the real Moody has been doing these terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
How would the second half of this chapter have been different if it had been the real Moody?
The second half of this chapter?
The final chapter.
That last chapter.
The very last section. So instead of it being Barty Crouch Jr., how would the story change if it had really been actual Moody doing all these terrible things?
Oh my gosh. Well, he probably wouldn't have chosen to kill Harry because I think Mad Eye would have taken the stance of being more intelligent probably to bring Harry back. So he probably would have just apparated away with him, right? He wouldn't have left him on the grounds. Because Crouch kind of took that, I'm going to be the one to kill him. But I don't think Voldemort necessarily would have been happy with that. And I think most intelligent wizards, assuming that Moody is this great, smart wizard that everybody talks about him to be and expects him to be, I think if he was serving Voldemort, he would know that he wouldn't be happy unless he was the one to kill Harry. So I think he probably would have just gotten away from the castle and just apparated, or just... I don't know if you can apparate out of the castle. I know you can't do it into the grounds, but probably just gotten away as quickly as possible and tied Harry up because he was already weak. So I think it would have been quick and pretty hopeless for Harry.
Yeah, it would have been more effective.
Yeah.
Just off him, done with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Section superlatives.
Yep.
What was your favorite line?
So my favorite line was, we kind of talked about it earlier, and I said I didn't have a lot of thoughts about it, but I wanted to wait until this point. In page 633, when Harry and Cedric are arguing about taking the cup, Harry says, "Stop being noble," or it says, "Stop being noble," said Harry irritably. "Just take it so we can get out of here." And when I was reading that, I was like, this is paying for a bill at dinner. Like, you and your partner or whatever, or you and a friend, no, I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. No, just let me pay for it so we can leave and we'll figure it out later. You can Venmo me later or something. But I just, that was very obviously higher stakes, but just, I liked that back and forth kind of how we talked about, and it was just very funny. That's what I was thinking the whole time. You're at dinner, who's going to take the bill? Mm-hmm. I want to do it. I want to do it.
No, you paid for it last time. Yeah, but I got breakfast today.
Yeah, and I got breakfast. I paid for you paid for my gas 2 days ago, whatever. So.
And at the end of the day, it's not about winning. It's about, I just want to be done with it.
Yeah, we just get over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't a thing. This shouldn't be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny. All right, last one. Who was your section MVP?
I mean, there was two characters that did anything, and it was Harry or Cedric. It can't be Harry, so...
Harry. You're allowed,
One per book, I think we can allow you for it to be Harry.
I mean, yeah, it'd have to be Harry, right? Like nobody else does anything other. I mean, I could be Voldemort. Like he really gets his job done. Like
That's who Lorelai picked.
yeah, I mean, I don't blame her.
Highly successful. I really, and as much as you've been like, go Voldemort,
Rah, rah,
I
Voldy.
stopped it's not even a question. I really thought you were like, this is his time. He deserves it. He did the things, but I'm not saying you have to.
No,
I'm
I
just-
mean, I think it's Harry. I mean, he like Voldemort doing all of that stuff. I kind of mentioned it reaffirms how strong he is and how resilient he is, right? But Harry beat him, then beat him, but he escaped him twice, 3 times now.
Mhm.
So I mean, at the end of the day, Harry's gone through all this stuff, and he did it hurt
Oh yeah.
and emotionally strained. So
And just having watched his friend be murdered in front of his
right,
eyes.
and he got his friend back. So I think that's a victory in itself that earns Harry the title. If we're choosing good guys, bad guys, and main characters, I think it's Harry. He wins.
Okay.
All right. I think that pretty much does it. Any final overarching thoughts moving forward?
I'm ready for things to get sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it when the story gets dark. That's what I'm excited for. So ready to finish this one up and get on to the next one.
You. All right. So it looks like we will see you in just about 2 or 3 weeks. We've only got 2 chapters left.
Awesome. Right on.
Has this
Get your
book felt quicker to you at
No.
all? No, it's felt long.
Yeah.
I feel the opposite. I don't know if it's just me. For having it be the longest book by 2, I feel like this has been one of the quickest books for me. I don't
I've
know why.
also gone through a lot of different stages of life throughout this book.
That's true.
through this
That's
last
true.
year. So there's from the beginning of this book to the end, there's a very big perspective shift. So
That's true. That's completely fair. That's completely fair. But yeah, I'm excited to finish this one up and then get into the next one.
yeah, right on.
Thanks again, buddy. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.